Joanna. And just so I'm clear, Joanna, uh, should I end by 10:45?
Yes, thank you.
Why don't we start by just sitting for a moment? Okay, thank you very much. And I know that your theme for the day is the great mystery. Uh, and the challenge with any theme, and the great mystery is uh, subject to that challenge, is any way in which we turn consciously or unconsciously the great mystery into something that exists independent of us or separate from us. Then any way in which we turn it into a something. Uh, in other words, any exploration that we're doing is a temptation to fall into uh, what Trungpa Rinpoche wrote about as spiritual materialism, which means that you turn something like the great mystery into an object that can be possessed. And in particular, with a topic like the great mystery, the challenge is wanting to understand the great mystery, or wanting to see the great mystery, or wanting to know the great mystery. Because any way in which we're doing anything in relationship to it, uh, understanding it, knowing it, seeing it, any word you want to use, bathing in it, embracing it, uh, are all different ways of turning the great mystery into an it that has an independent existence. So if you don't do that, if you're not going to turn the great mystery into something that can be understood, seen, or known, then the great mystery is this. You know, this moment that's already occurring is the great mystery. There is no other great mystery besides this one. There's no mystery to come into contact with that you're not already in contact with. You know, and so the guidance that I would want to offer to you at the start of this day is to keep this to keep your practice as simple as possible. The challenge with meditation is often that we want to make more out of it than we need to. The challenge with meditation is we all have a deep desire to be entertained, to be occupied, to be busy. And meditation really doesn't give you anything to be busy with. So if the great mystery is already here, if this is already the great mystery, if there is no other great mystery to find, that means there's no need to seek, there's no need to search, there's no need to practice, there's no need to do anything except be here, however here is. The only reason there could ever be the sense that this is not the great mystery is because we hold some idea that says this is not the great mystery. And isn't it a great mystery where that idea emerges from? So yes, I would want to encourage you. You have this beautiful day that you do once a month, and here's another one, and I'm lucky because I get to speak with you right at the very start of the day, and offer my 2 cents as you begin. And so my 2 cents is just keep this really simple. When you're in your practice today, don't do anything at all. Just really let everything be the way it is. Extinguish every sense of wanting anything to happen other than what's already here. And if you're able to do that, if you're able to just sit with absolutely no preference at all for anything to happen, you may start to experience a sense of questioning around, how could this possibly lead to anything? What's the point? Where is this going? Which, of course, those kinds of questions are always predicated on a belief that we're supposed to be going somewhere, that meditation is a journey that takes us from where we are to someplace else. If we get rid of that expectation and meditation becomes just the practice of being here, and here is where we already are, then there's nothing that we need to do. And then all of those questions start to look like reflections of the great mystery. The great mystery, to me, is the great mystery of the fact that we don't really know what's going on. We don't really know who we are. And we don't really know what or if there's any purpose to any of this. And that's fine. We just don't know. That's the great mystery. We just got here. We arrived. And, everybody's got an opinion. And I have lots of opinions about what the purpose is and why we're here. But they're just opinions. And at the end of the day, I have to admit that at any moment, I could experience something that would show me that all of my previous opinions had been wrong. And since that's already happened about a half dozen times, I can only conclude that it's probably going to happen again. So opinions are important because we guide our life by them and we hold them lightly. So for today, the way that I'm going to suggest that you enter the great mystery is by forgetting, at least for the space of the 6 hours, forgetting about anything you think you know about what's true, about awakening, about enlightenment, about meditation. Just let it all go and just don't know anything about any of this. Then you have the opportunity to see the kind of conditioned backlash we have to the great mystery. The great mystery is something that it's easier to have it as an object to seek for, to find, to attain. It's much more difficult to actually be in the great mystery. Being in the great mystery means being in not knowing. And so I'm going to suggest that you just forget about everything you think you know. Go ahead, take the risk and just let it all go. And then when you're in your practice, you're just being without any preference for anything over anything else. So with that, we'll sit, and I'll make sure I leave a couple of minutes in case there's any question or two that people want to ask or comments you want to make. So when I say the meditation has begun, just sit and do absolutely nothing, having no preference at all for any result over any other result. And the meditation has begun.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And if anyone has a question or comment they'd like to pose, I'm going to suggest that we just put them in the chat box, type them in, because there's a lot of you and I don't know how I'd find you. So I'll just type in so you see where it is. I'll answer speaking, but that's just so you can see where the chat is. So you hit the chat at the bottom of your screen, and if you want to ask anything, feel free. And my advice from the start, before the meditation, was simply to allow this to be perfectly simple. How does one relate to a mystery that can't be solved? If it's a mystery that can't be solved, there's no reason to make any effort to try to solve it. So as you go through the day today, and you leave this as simple as possible, and you don't try to do anything in meditation, you'll have the opportunity to witness all of the conditioned habits of mind that will try to solve the unsolvable mystery, or will try to make doing nothing a something to do. You know, another form of spiritual materialism is to take an instruction like don't do anything and turn it into something to do. Turn it into a puzzle to figure out, or something you need to understand. However you do that, you then have something to do, which is why the term spiritual materialism works so well, because it's always about having something to do, having something to keep you busy, having something to work on, versus having nothing, which is what the practice is. And so Claire wrote to us, what about just being awestruck at the fact of this created body, which is what began to happen today? If being awestruck is what naturally arises when you do nothing, fantastic. Being awestruck is something that is a very appropriate response to doing nothing. The challenge with identifying something like being awestruck, of course, is it can easily become a goal to be achieved. So then, what if you're not awestruck? What if it's utterly boring? You know, sometimes meditation is just completely and utterly boring. Nothing's happening. Are we going to then try to generate some sense of being awestruck so we can feel like we're meditating? Or are we going to be perfectly okay with being bored, with having nothing to do and nothing happening? So yes, Claire, definitely in terms of being awestruck at the fact of this created body, if that's what's arising, you be completely with that. If it's not what's arising, there's no reason to generate it. And there's nothing about that experience of being awestruck, at least in the terms of the meditation, there's nothing about that experience that makes it preferable to any other experience. It's not more enlightened than any other experience. If it happens to be the experience of the moment, great. And if it's not, also great. You know, everything in its opposite is perfect in this way of practicing. And then you can see, I'm sure, and I know I don't know if you've all heard this before, but I'm sure I know many of you have heard this before, and many of you have heard it before from me, ad nauseam, and too many times. Um, and and so the challenge for you today will be to hear it as if it's the first time. As I said earlier, you're going to forget everything that you know. So this is like the first time anyone's ever told you to have no preference. And you're like, have no preference. What does that mean? Everything's equal to everything else? And yes, in the context of meditation, every experience is just another experience, utterly and absolutely equivalent in value to any other possible experience. So being awestruck is no more valuable than being bored, which is no more valuable than being confused, which is no more valuable than being angry, which is no more valuable than being in blissful states of union with the divine. Because the goal of the meditation isn't the attainment of any particular state. The goal of meditation, the way that I would suggest you approach it, is to be free of the need to have any particular state in order to be okay. And then part of the great mystery is the mystery of the fact that you can choose to be okay no matter what's occurring. You can find contentment no matter what your experience is. You don't have to feel content to be content. So all the questions that arise in the practice, all the questions about how you do it and if you're doing it or if you're not doing it. I mean, here's a great this is a great opportunity for your day focused on the great mystery. If you really do nothing, if you're meditating but you're doing absolutely nothing, it's very natural that one of the things that starts to arise is a recognition that you have no idea if you're meditating or not. What a lovely expression of the great mystery. You're sitting there in your meditation posture, and the fact that you're sitting in your meditation posture is the only recognizable thing that you could call meditation, because everything else is just being, utterly indistinguishable from any other being. And so there's the sense of, oh my God, I don't even know if I'm meditating or not. I don't know what meditation is anymore. And if you keep pursuing this doing nothing, you will, if you keep pursuing it, if you don't turn doing nothing into doing something, if you don't turn it into a project of some type of project, then you will definitely, inevitably end up in some kind of from the inside out experience of the great mystery, because it'll be the experience of having no idea what you're doing, having no idea what you're supposed to be doing, having no idea who you are. Eventually, you can go so far that you have no idea what you used to think meditation was. It doesn't make any sense anymore. Like, what did I think I was doing when I was meditating? Because I was never doing anything but nothing anyway. And then the whole great mystery starts to fold in on itself so much that all you're really left with is a big experience of not knowing, which initially can be really scary. And if it's pursued long enough, the not knowing becomes a kind of divine not needing to know, which is like a divine not caring. It no longer matters to you whether you know or not, because you recognize that you never knew and you will never know, and knowing doesn't really matter. It's not the goal. Having some deeper knowledge is not the point. The point is to be and to allow something to start to occur that can occur as long as we're busy with everything we think we know. So these are some of the thoughts that I would leave you with then. I know you're going to have a wonderful remaining 5 hours, and in about an hour, I'm in New York today, and I'm leading a 5 hour meditation retreat starting at noon Eastern time, which is in a little over an hour. So we'll be all meditating together for the whole day. Even though I won't be on camera, I will be with you in more than spirit. And so I'm sending you all my best wishes and love for a wonderful day and uh, an incredible experience of having no idea, uh, and honoring the great mystery of life. So thank you all very much. Have a great break and have a great day.
Thank you, Jeff, for that beautiful guidance. And what a wonderful invitation for our day. So thank you so much for being here.
You're very welcome. I look forward to being on again sometime. Bye.
Wonderful.